What in the heck is a sweat bee? Welcome to the knowledge, where sometimes the biggest questions start with the smallest things. And today's question is very small. Very, very small. What in the heck is a sweat bee? This whole thing started when my wife, Rebecca, told me she thought she'd been stung by a sweat bee. Now, being the supportive husband that I am, my first reaction was, a what? A sweat bee? I thought she was making this up. It sounded like something somebody invents when they don't know what actually stung them. Honey, I got stung. By what? A sweat bee? Sure you did. So naturally, I went looking for answers. And Rebecca, I owe you an apology. Apparently, sweat bees are not only real, they're actually pretty common. Sweat bees are generally small bees belonging to the family Halictidae, and some of them are beautiful little insects. They can have metallic green, blue, bronze, or gold coloring. But here's the weird part. Some sweat bees really are attracted to human perspiration. Not because they're plotting an attack, not because they're tiny vampires. They're after the salt and minerals in your sweat. So imagine you're outside on a hot summer afternoon, sweating like crazy, and this tiny bee comes flying over thinking, well, somebody opened the electrolyte bar. Apparently we're walking sports drinks now. But that brings us back to Rebecca's story. Can sweat bees actually sting? Yep, female sweat bees can sting, particularly if they're trapped against your skin, squeezed, or swatted. They're generally not considered aggressive, and their sting is typically milder than those of many other bees and wasps. Of course, telling somebody who just got stung that their sting was relatively mild probably isn't going to improve the situation. Honey, according to my research, that shouldn't hurt very much. Yeah, don't say that. That's free marriage advice from STM Daily News. And before you decide to wage war against every tiny bee in the backyard, sweat bees actually serve an important purpose. They're pollinators, visiting flowers, and helping plants reproduce. So if one lands on you, don't panic. Gently brush or blow it away rather than smashing it against your skin, which could turn a curious little bee into an understandably irritated little bee. So today's lesson, sweat bees are real. They're attracted to the salt in our sweat. Females can sting. They're beneficial pollinators. And most importantly, Rebecca was right. There. It's on the podcast now. Permanent record. I'm sure I'll never hear the end of it. For more fun explainers, science, history, and those everyday questions that make you say, wait, is that actually a thing? Visit STM Daily News. I'm Rodney Washington. Thanks for listening to the Knowledge Podcast. And remember, if a tiny green bee lands on your sweaty arm, you may not be under attack. You may just be the Gatorade.